Breaking news: Venezuela hit by a rare double earthquake. Good morning, my dear viewers, and welcome back to Bushcraft Bear. Today we have a major breaking news update from Venezuela. The country has been struck by an extremely rare double earthquake event. According to the United States Geological Survey, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake was followed less than 1 minute later by a second, even stronger earthquake measuring magnitude 7.5. Experts describe this type of event as exceptionally unusual. Meteorologist Noah Berggren stated that two earthquakes of similar strength occurring almost at the same location within seconds of each other may be a once-in-a-thousand-year event. The earthquakes struck during the afternoon local time in Venezuela, when many people were at work in schools, shopping centers, hospitals and office buildings. This timing likely increased the number of people exposed to the strong shaking. The epicenter was located approximately 160 kilometers west of Caracas at a depth of around 13 kilometers. Because the earthquakes were relatively shallow, the shaking was particularly intense across a large region. Current situation: the Venezuelan government has declared a state of emergency. At this time, officials have confirmed at least 32 fatalities and more than 700 injuries. However, authorities stress that information is still missing from some of the hardest hit regions, especially the coastal state of La Guaira. Rescue operations are continuing around the clock, and unfortunately the number of casualties is expected to rise. Major damage reported: several buildings have collapsed in Caracas. Reports indicate that residential buildings and high-rise structures suffered severe damage. Journalists on the ground described scenes of chaos and desperation. In the Altamira district of Caracas, a 22-story residential building was reported to be almost completely destroyed. Rescue teams have been climbing through the rubble during the night, while relatives searched desperately for missing family members. Hospitals were also affected. In one hospital in Caracas, ceiling panels reportedly collapsed during the shaking. There are also reports of damage at the country's main airport, although the full extent has not yet been confirmed. Eyewitness accounts: one resident of Caracas described the experience as the most frightening moment of her life. She said, "I've never been so afraid in my life." According to her account, two nearby high-rise buildings collapsed and neighboring structures lost entire walls. Inside her apartment, furniture overturned, pictures fell from the walls and broken glass covered the floors. She and her husband initially struggled to leave their apartment because the shaking was so violent. After reaching the streets, they joined hundreds of other residents who remained outdoors for hours, fearing additional aftershocks. Power outages and disruptions to mobile phone networks were also reported. In some buildings, residents had to rescue people trapped inside elevators. Why scientists are concerned? One reason this event is attracting so much attention is the unusual earthquake sequence. Normally, a major earthquake is followed by smaller aftershocks. In this case, two very powerful earthquakes occurred almost back to back. This significantly increased the destructive forces acting on buildings and infrastructure. The USGS has issued a very high impact assessment for this event. Their models suggest the potential exists for extremely high casualty numbers if damage in densely populated areas proves as severe as feared. Some impact scenarios estimate that losses could eventually reach into the tens of thousands. However, it is important to stress that these are model projections, not confirmed casualty figures. At the moment, the officially confirmed numbers remain far lower and assessments are still ongoing. International reaction. The disaster has already drawn international attention. US President Donald Trump announced that he has instructed American agencies to prepare assistance if needed. In a statement, he described the earthquakes as being of massive scale and said early reports from the affected areas were not encouraging. Emergency teams across Venezuela continue their search and rescue operations as authorities work to assess the full extent of the disaster. Historical context. Venezuela lies along the boundary between the Caribbean plate and the South American plate. The region has experienced devastating earthquakes before. One of the most destructive historical earthquakes occurred in 1812, when an estimated 30,000 people lost their lives in Caracas and surrounding areas. The coming hours and days will be critical as rescue crews continue searching damaged buildings and authorities gather more information from affected regions. I will continue to follow developments closely and keep you updated here on Bushcraft Bear. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, stay safe and stay healthy. Bushcraft Bear is signing out.